And we are back with Brad Davis. Now you're in the hot seat.
I'm in the hot seat, that's right.
And I get to ask
really
you
hot
all
up
kinds
here.
of questions.
Okay.
It won't be painful, I promise. Really, we want to get to know you, a little bit about you, where you were born and raised, and a little bit about your family, starters.
Right. I was born in Sioux City, Iowa. Dad was in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. So we were only there for a short while, and then he got stationed in Wichita Falls. So became a Texan pretty quick and grew up in Colleyville, Grapevine area, went to high school there, and began playing bluegrass as a young kid in that area. So that's where I started my musical kind of a journey at the age of 5.
Wow.
So I'm 60 now. It's a long time to be playing guitar.
It sure is.
Yeah, it's started then, and then was to fast forward after playing in bluegrass stuff around that area. I got called to do a session for Gary Smith, who was a band leader for Ricky Skaggs in Abilene, Texas. So I thought, wow, this is great. You know, what a cool deal. So I went up there and played guitar, and he said, we're looking for somebody on guitar, harmony and rhythm, and you're perfect for it. So you got the job. So I was like, okay, wow. And Ricky Skaggs had just had Love's Gonna Get You, that first single he had out, and a bunch of hits. It was really hot country-wise, right? You know. So I moved to Nashville. I was just 20, just getting ready to turn 21. Moved to Nashville, got an apartment. My mom cried. She went up there with me, got me moved in. You know, and so I waited. First week went by, and I was like, I'm calling everybody, man, I'm in Nashville. I've made it. This is it, you know. So the first week goes by, no phone call, nothing. So next week goes by, no phone call. I'm like, wow, 2 weeks, you know, and I'm tired of telling everybody I've made it, right? So, so I get a phone call from Gary Smith, and he said, well, this is Gary, you don't have the job. The guy who wanted it, and we offered it to, a guy named, you guys may remember the writer Waylon Patton, great songwriter in Nashville. But a lot of hits. He was offered, turned it down, and he decided he wanted it. So he said, you're out. I was like, wow, what am I going to do? I don't have a job. You know, I hardly know anybody here, you know. Mm-hmm. So I had Country Boy on my Codaphone, back when we had Codaphones, right? Some of us still do, I guess. And so it just as fast as a record, just blistering fast. And so I get a phone call from this guy named Jack Smith. And Jack says, I mean, I was crying in my blues. I was just so sad about the whole thing. And I heard the phone ring, and I didn't get it. And I'm not going to get it. I've already been told I don't have the job. I'm not picking the phone up. So I said, this is Jack Smith. If that's you playing on this machine, you're hired. And I was like, for what? I scrambled over, grabbed the phone, you know, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And he goes, this is Jack. I'm Gary's brother, and I'm the band leader for the Forrester Sisters, and they just have had their third #1, and we need a lead guitar player. And I go, wow, lead guitar, rhythm and harmony with Ricky, or lead guitar with the Forrester. So I got hired. Mm-hmm. I was scared to death because I hadn't played a lot of electric. So I went down and got me a Strat, a couple pedals, and it was so loud, you know, the atmosphere that I was, because I've been playing bluegrass all my life. Mm-hmm. Scared to death. And they made us wear those really baggy pants at that point. The band had to wear these black baggy pants and our shirts tucked in. It's a good thing because my legs were like this, you know, the whole time on stage. I was nervous as heck. We opened for Conway Twitty for like 4 months and went to Europe, and it was incredible. So I was with them for about 5 years, and then I heard that Ray Flack with Marty Stewart got fired from that job. I don't know what the circumstances were, but he got fired. And he was one of my favorite telly players because he played on all Ricky's stuff, and that's how I knew he was playing on Highway 40 Blues and all that stuff. And so I thought, I'm going to go try out for it. And I didn't tell them, obviously, because I was trying to see if I could get the job.
Right.
All my friends said, you don't want to do that. They're druggies. You know, you're going to hate it. It's terrible. My buddy who played guitar, well, he shows up at the tryouts before me. Uh-huh. He's trying to talk me out of going. I'm like, well, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that. You know, so it's 31 guys in line. I'm the last guy there. And I thought, there is no way I'm getting this. I'm not going to get it. There's no way, man. You know, you got all these hot telly players. I'm looking at this guy and that guy. And at that point, I kind of knew names. And they were like really, really hot telly players. And I thought, shoot, you know, I'm the last guy. So my buddy looks back at me like, what are you doing here? I go, you're here. Come on, man. So finally got into the rehearsals, last guy. And I had this little bitty amp that was really powerful. It was a great amp, but it wasn't big. But I thought it would be nice to bring because it was small. And Marty Stewart said, what's that little small thing over there? And I said, it's my amplifier. Too small. Okay, it's too small. You're the boss. It's your tryout, So we had songs we had to learn in certain keys. And Richard Bennett, I don't know if you guys, Neil Diamond had a musical director named Richard Bennett. Mm-hmm. Richard was the producer of Copperhead Road for Steve Earle and that whole record. And he was also Marty's producer. Brilliant guitar player. He plays lead guitar for Martin Knopfler for the last 12 years. Yeah. Fantastic guitar player. He was my guru on this whole thing. That kind of helped me out once I got the job. So he gave us the CDs, and we learned the songs in certain keys with a Bigsby on some of them. They had to be in the right key or they wouldn't sound right. Right. And Marty Stewart, well, you look pretty green. I said, I am. I'm not going to lie about it. He said, we're going to sharpen flat every key on the fly. See how you do. No capo because you're playing electric guitar.
Right.
He wants it all. He's going to sharpen flat every key at his choosing as we roll. So I said, well, this is going to suck. But it's your tryout. It's your show. You're the boss.
Yeah. Okay,
whatever. And so we went through it, and it was, just trying to get through it in these different keys. And I'd already learned it in the right keys, and it was tough. I'm not going to lie to you. Then almost a train wreck. But so I got to the end. He said, "Can you flat pick?" I said, "That I can do." Mm-hmm. So I did Soldier's Joy and Black Mountain Rag, and he couldn't play fast enough to outrun me. I could stay with him. And so he said, I started putting my stuff up, and I said, well, thanks, I appreciate it, He said, you got the job. I go, what? I got the job for that terrible display of playing. He said, you didn't gripe or complain. You did exactly what I told you to do, and you realize I'm the boss, and if I want to change something, you said, okay.
Yeah.
It's your show.
Yeah.
So I got the job. I was just blown away. And he said, the only problem with this job is you have to take lessons from Richard Bennett. I said, Richard Bennett? You mean the guy who gave me the CDs? Yeah. Neil Diamond's musical director for 19 years. He produced Steve Earle. Yeah, that guy. And I'm like, whoa, free lessons from this guy. You have to take 2 lessons a week. I said, wow, it's fantastic. So I show up his house. His wife is from London. Cup of tea for you. So I go, I would love some tea. So they made their, they were just very British, him as well. And so I'd go to his house, and he'd say, well, here's part of the intro. And I go, no, I'm not leaving till you play the whole thing. I want it from front to start. So I had my little tape player, and I put it on. I said, this is my one time, man. I'm never going to get this again,
Right.
And you're offering free lessons. And so I got everything recorded, learned it note for note. And Marty Stewart said, you have to have a 51 Telecaster. And I said, a 51 Telecaster? I can't afford it. They're like, at the time, $10,000.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but when we get into the studio, Tony Brown with MCA Records is going to say, you can't use the band. And I know the first thing he's going to ask you, because you're green, is what kind of guitar you got. And if you say PV or GNL or something that's not a vintage Telecaster, he's going to eat your lunch and send you out the back door. And I thought, okay, you know the guy. You're a producer. So we sent out, took his gold card and sent out and had 15 vintage Telecasters flown in because they knew it was Marty Stewart. They didn't mind. Right. They flew them all in, and we tried them out. Found the best one, and it was a reef in with a Bigsby on it because Richard's part was very Bigsby. He had a lot of Bigsby stuff. And so it was about $6,000 because it was a refinish. And so we bought it and had to pay him each week, for the guitar. But he fronted the money for me. Yeah. And so I get in the studio. We're cutting the first record, Hillbilly Rock. And Tony Brown says, he hits the top back, Davis. I go, yeah. He goes, what kind of guitar is that? 51 Telecaster. And he went, okay. And he walks off. And I go, the boss knew. The boss knew, So I got to do 11 years of Marty Stewart. I was there for a good while. got fired 3 times, quit 4 times. It was one of those bands, you know.
Yeah.
But he was a great coach. My first time out, we were heading to California, and Tony Brown said, "This guy can't sing and he can't play, man. He's awful, you know." Like, God, man, I'm just trying to hold my own. We were so loud. Marty had 5 twins. His guitar was plugged up to 5 twins, and we had a drummer and a bass player. It was so loud, and I was just trying to survive. I was singing the baritone. I could barely hear it because we were just so loud on stage. And so the bass player, Larry Mars, who sang all the harmony on George Jones records, had blown his ear years ago. He's a rocker. And blew his ear, so his ear sounded like this. Sounded like he had a plug in it.
Oh, wow.
And he could sing perfect pitch every night because of that. So he said, "Why don't you take a gun plug?" And I got a whole pack of them in this little pouch. I didn't put them on today because we don't have any noise to worry about. But I stick a half a gun plug barely in my ear, and it feels like I got my thumb in my ear. And so it gives me the sense that I can really hear my head voice without blowing my voice, and it saved me. It got me in a position where, wow, harmony's sounding better. I thank God, you know, because I didn't want to get fired.
Right.
But Marty wanted somebody he could mold, and every really hot telly player in line had an attitude. And they were going to come in and show him how to play telly. Well, it's his show, you know.
Yeah.
So he wanted somebody he could train and say, play a lead, you're done. You know, that would do that. And those guys wouldn't do that. And they would darn sure wouldn't take lessons from Richard Bennett. You know, they wouldn't have done that. But I was just glad to be there. So I happened to be that mold, that clay that he needed to mold, you know. And plus I was just like, what do you want? I'm here to do whatever you want. You know, well, we're doing a session today with Amy Lou Harris, and her hand kind of goes like this, and we're not going to be able to use her recording because she hits the top with her fingernails. But I want you to sit and watch her and copy what she does, and we're going to keep your part and let her do her part, but we're not going to keep it.
Oh, wow.
Because he knew Amy Lou, and he knew how much noise she would make. And so I just, you know, I'm watching her trying to learn how she's doing what she's doing and mimicking what she's doing. And so I got so much experience off that, you know, and got to play on all the records, you know, with his confidence behind you. And the first time we went out after we went to L.A., we were in West Virginia on a live stage, and they hadn't let the crowd in, but it's a big 400-seat outdoor deal. So we're doing a show with Merle Haggard, one of my heroes, and Waylon Jennings.
Oh, wow.
And so they're on stage. We're doing sound check. They got their guitars. They're plugged up. And we're playing the song that Marty plays the lead on. I play the rhythm on. So he looks at me and says, play lead. I don't play lead on this, man. This is your song. Play lead. Well, Merle Haggard's sitting there, and so is Waylon Jennings, and they're strumming along. Okay. I'm thinking this is going to be really bad, you know. So I get through it, and I'm mad at him already, and it's a train wreck, total train wreck. I get around to the top of the song. I go, whew, man, you know, I'm done. I didn't want to look at Merle or Waylon, you know, just my head was down, and, you know. And Marty said, take another one. I was like, oh, I'm going to kill this guy. I'm going to strangle him in his sleep. So I'm playing, I'm going, oh, dog it, you know, my heroes are there, and I'm terrible. I get around, and it's another train wreck. And I go, that's it. And, you know, we're done. We get around it. And hopefully he's going to start singing at this point. He says, take another one. I'm like, oh. I'm definitely going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. I'll strangle him. He'll never know it. And he'll sleep on the bus. So I was so mad, came around the top of the deal, played this great solo, and he said, now that's what I was looking for. But he would do that to you. He would put you right over the sharks and go, you going to survive or not? You know,
right.
It was tough. But he made you really listen and pay attention, and he was a great guy. I got a lot of my great guitars from him.
Yeah.
You know, the Telecaster I have that I didn't bring, but and hearing his stories, you know.
Oh, I bet.
Because Johnny Cash would come out and spend time with us on the road, and the guy who wrote all the Judd stuff, the British guy that was married to Amy Lou, can't think of his name right now, Warren Ascot.
Of course it is.
But we had a lot of great people that Marty knew that would come spend time with us, and it was really neat. And just a great experience. So, and after that, I left Marty. Sorry, that was so long. I left Marty and went to the Sweethearts of the Rodeo, had a new bluegrass band. And so I manned that band for a little while, and then while I was working with Earl Scruggs, and came back to Marty Stewart and kept working with Earl Scruggs, what a great guy. He was, and then Sam Bush. I got to play with Sam Bush for a couple of years, which was a highlight of Marty Stewart and him. Highlight of pretty much everything, because Newgrass Revival was such a cool band that demanded so much instrumentation from the band. And I remember I got with Sam, and I knew some of the songs, but he'd do a 5/8 time, and he'd switch to a 3/4 time at like 190 beats a minute. Crazy stuff. Bela Fleck kind of weird stuff. And so he said, here's a stack of CDs, 30 CDs. I met him at 10 o'clock that night. We leave on the bus at 2 in the morning. Show's tomorrow night. So I didn't sleep at all. I just listened to the CDs and kept listening and stayed up all night and trying to learn all the stuff. But I've had so many great opportunities. And then from meeting all those people, I got a chance to work with David Lee Roth. We had a bluegrass band on Van Halen, and his sister was with the label, and he says, I want to sing on it. Could I sing on it?
Wow.
She's like, yeah, we normally do instrumental, but yeah. So he came out and sang on it, and we did 2 weeks on tour with David Lee Roth, which was crazy.
I bet it was.
He was such a nice guy, so polite. And
yeah.
He said, I'm not a singer. I'm an entertainer. Let's get that straight. It takes a pretty big guy to say that, somebody like that. So I've just had so many awesome opportunities. And then I joined Billy Bob Thornton's band and worked with him for probably 8 years. We're still really tight. He's cutting Landman in Fort Worth right now. And my wife was actually in some of the shots. She went out to be an extra.
Cool.
And I just played guitar on his new record. And so we cut that in December. He bought a new house with a studio, and we hung out and laughed and had a great time and cut his new record. So I'm excited about that for the Boxmasters. And then I'm just trying to launch my own trio and my solo thing, which is I'm having to start over because Helen, they don't know me as a solo artist. They know me as a side man, and so I have to kind of prove myself and start from scratch. But my kids said, Dad, if you don't do it now, forget it.
Right.
You're 60. I said,
and of course your kids are thinking, oh, he's got one foot in the grave and one on banana peel.
He'll never make it, yeah. So I said, okay. And so my wife, we played the TMR Festival with Craig Langford and Steve Ritter. I'd never played with them before. I met Craig, and he said, I got a drummer that's great. I'm thinking, God, I hope this guy's good,
Yeah.
Because Iron Giant's not easy to play on drums, and Symphony's not easy to play. They're tough. They're tough things to play. And so we had all the audio and Dropbox and charts, these crazy charts for those songs. And they showed up, no rehearsal, and didn't miss one note, these guys.
Oh,
amazing. I was
That's
like, and they sang
awesome.
harmony like the Eagles. It was incredible. And my wife was there, and she walked over and she said, this is all you need to be doing is this. Nothing else but this.
Yeah.
I think, man, when your wife tells you that, you probably ought to say,
Mama knows best.
Thank you, honey. So we've been doing shows, and mainly solo because, we can't get the band out and always afford them. And so we're trying to, try to balance that out. So, but we are booked for the Total Eclipse Festival in Greenville.
Oh, fun.
The day before the eclipse. I didn't even know there was going to be an eclipse.
Yeah, April
I had
8th.
no idea until someone told me about it.
Won't be another one like this for 200 years.
They're expecting 75,000 downtown, so it's going to be crazy.
A lot of schools are out that day.
Yeah, well, and now Sunday's the day we're booked, but the 8th I'm booked in Sulphur Springs at a campground that's already sold out, and it'll be during the eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be crazy. Yeah, you guys will have to stay barricaded in.
Nah.
Right.
Hey, we've got our groovy little glasses, and we bought extras. So.
All right.
Yeah.
But I met Bob Hurst, who's a emergency management guy for Delta County, and he said, "Have you ever been in an eclipse?" I said, "No." He said, "I've been in one." He handles emergency management. He said it gets dangerous.
Really?
He said, be very careful. There's going to be a lot of folks, when a lot of people get together and they're partying in a situation like that.
Yeah.
He said it gets very, very dangerous. So he said you need to be very careful. A lady friend of ours has got 80 acres, and she said, I want to call him and ask him if I can open up a campground and charge. And he said, please don't. Load your shotguns, get extra groceries, and barricade yourself in because it's very dangerous. Yeah. He said he's seen people just get murdered, because people get crazy. They just get nuts. They get crammed into a small space.
That's spooky. That's odd.
He said,
yeah.
he said you may want to buy a 4x8 plywood for the store downtown because they'll break one. He said he's seen them just loot and shatter and tear things off.
Oh, see, that sucks. Somebody just turned something so fun into
I know
that.
He just said, "Be careful."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I said, "Okay." And
wow.
He was like, he's 81, but he still works with emergency management. And he said, "I've been in one, so take my word for it."
Oh wow.
Anyway, sorry.
You had mentioned that your brother's a banjo player.
Yes.
Does he play with you at all, or?
He's in Nashville. He moved there so we could play together, and he stayed. He runs a construction company called NCR, but he plays with about 4 or 5 bands. And every time he parks his car, someone breaks the window and puts 4 or 5 banjos in his car.
So
he's
sure.
he's got a lot of banjos. But no, he's a great player. He actually, Milton Kaiser used to be our neighbor and machinist, and so he had an idea for a capo. He took it to Milton and said, "Would you machine this out?" And he said, "Yeah." Well, I don't know all the details, but I think the attorney saw the capo. They added a curly Q on it and a little deal, and now it's all over the world.
Yeah.
And my brother came up with that capo, that design, and also the banjo that has the 5th fret that goes underneath the fretboard and comes out at the peg head. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of those out now. He designed the first one.
Now, did he get any patent on these?
No, Greg's real laid back, and he's
Greg.
like, well, shoot, maybe next time.
Yeah.
But you don't come up with ideas like that very often. But he's a great banjo player. When they can't get Bela Fleck, they call Greg.
Oh, wow.
So, crazy story. I get a call from Brooks and Dunn, from Dunn, and he says, "We need a banjo player. Bela's not available." And I met those guys through Marty Stewart, and I said, "Shoot, I'll call my brother." It's Christmas time. Mm-hmm. So my brother works a day job and then plays with other bands on the weekend.
Right.
Super laid back. I mean, like really laid back kind of guy. And so I call him. I said, "Hey, Brooks and Dunn just called. They got a new single and they need banjo on it." "Bubba, I got my Tanqueray and shoes off and fires going and Christmas music playing. I think I'll just sit out on this one." I said, "You are not missing this record.
No.
I'm going to come get you. Get your house shoes on. I don't care what you're wearing, and I'm taking you to the studio right now. I'm coming. I'm going to come." So I drove in from where we lived, and I had to wrangle him and get his banjo and get him in the car. He didn't want to go. He was comfortable.
Oh, my gosh.
So I got him there, and it was only in America. It was number 1, 14 weeks on the charts.
Oh, wow.
And I said, "You owe me, man." But he's a great banjo player.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. Alison Krauss asked him to be her first banjo player.
Oh, wow.
We knew Allison as kids, and she was very traditional when she started, like super ultra traditional.
Yeah.
And so he had a banjo that he designed with this string that went under the fretboard. No one had one but him. Mm-hmm. The binding was blood red. The peg head had all the strings on one side, so it had this kind of flying V-looking headstock like a Charvel, and it was not traditional. And she said, "If you'll play Gibson traditional banjo, I'd like for you to be my banjo player." And he said, "No, I just got this made, and I really like it. I think I'll pass." Sure enough, he should have said yes, right? All these years. But he was her first pick.
Wow.
For banjo. And so he's really good. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a show with him March the 21st at Station Inn.
Okay.
So it's a tribute to Mark Newton, who wrote a ton of bluegrass hits. If you're in the bluegrass world, you would know Mark's name. And he wanted me to be a special guest on the show, and my brother's also in that band. So we're going to be able to get together on that night and play March the 21st at Station Inn, so I'm excited about it.
And where is the Station Inn?
It's right downtown in the heart of the Gulch, is what they call it. And the Gulch is right by Deja Vu. It's the only landmark.
Is this Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
What is it like?
Waxahachie.
Yeah, it's like 100 ugly ones and 3 pretty ones, whatever it says on Deja Vu. But it's been there for years at the corner of 65 and Demumbrem. Mm-hmm. And so the Gulch is right in that low part. But there's all these high rises, and Station Inn's like this little small building.
Wow.
It's still there. So we'll play there that night, and then I play at the Amigo Guitar Show in Nashville. So I just got a new pickup endorsement for my electric guitar, and I'm excited about it. Corone Dillette pickups.
yes.
So I'm excited. So they're having me out there to play at the festival.
Yeah. Well, another pretty doggone exciting thing is that Alvarez
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that.
has a signature guitar, and it's named after you. I mean,
Yeah,
you've got
it's incredible.
BD for birthday.
Big
Brad
Daddy.
Davis.
Right.
Big Daddy Brad Davis.
Big Daddy
birthday
BD,
guitar.
yeah. They are for sale. If you go to Sweetwater, it's on the artist page. And
Yes.
the wood's 67 years old, and the back and sides are 70 years old. And so it's really, really, really old wood. So
And the type of wood?
it's Adirondack spruce and Honduran mahogany. I'm sorry, rosewood. The neck is Honduran mahogany. So exciting to have it.
Beautiful. And are they numbered?
They are, yes.
Okay.
We sold 18,
So,
and I have the
yeah.
first 3. So
Very cool. So everybody needs to buy one, and that way when Brad dies, it'll be worth a whole lot of money one day.
that
I'm kidding.
$200
I'm kidding.
guitar that he spoke of will be worth something. I don't know. Who knows?
I'm
Probably
just teasing
nothing.
you.
Yeah, right.
But no, having a numbered piece, that's a valuable
Yeah.
thing to have.
They're going to make 1,000, and then they're going to make like $20,600 models that won't be old wood. It'll be
Right.
new, but good wood, but not old wood for $600, which would be great.
Yeah.
They'll probably sound better than the old ones. You never know.
I don't know.
You don't know. But they make great
Quality
guitars.
or
I'm
quantity.
glad to be part of it.
Yeah, I bet. And kind of going back to your child, I'm trying to figure out how you got so plugged in. And you were 5 years old when you started doing the bluegrass stuff.
Right.
So, what were your parents doing?
They were just, Dad was a court reporter. He played piano. I never knew it until he passed away for Johnny Horton.
Really?
Played piano for Johnny Horton. Yeah, great piano player. Never knew it
Wow.
because he played bass in our bluegrass band, but his mom and dad said, get a real job. So he became a stenographer and was the main partner in the largest one in Texas for years. Mm-hmm. And I could have been a stenographer. I could have made a good, but I decided to be a guitar player. So I'm glad I did. But,
Yeah, absolutely.
But they really encouraged us, and bluegrass was great because we could go to a bluegrass festival and not be mugged or. Nowadays it may be different, but with human trafficking and everything. But you could roam around and pick as kids. And,
yeah, we're the same age, so I get it.
Yeah. You could. It was a good atmosphere for us, and you got your chops. You were able to work on your chops and songs, and Keith. Miami, whatever, I can't remember his name. The Miami, that singer who passed away. Mm-hmm. Can't remember his last name right now. It's because I'm 60. But he came from bluegrass, and a lot of them came from bluegrass, So you got your chops there, and I think that really helped me in Nashville because if you could wow somebody, they would go, whoa, But if you didn't, they didn't get really a chance to hear you until you got into a situation. So I think it was a benefit having that background.
Yeah.
But they were very encouraging. They bought me my first Martin from Josh, I think his name right now. Anyway, I told your husband earlier, Norman Blake. Norman Blake had financial trouble and sold a Martin. We bought it for $800, and now it's worth about $29,000.
Oh, wow.
So, and was just having financial difficulty, but that was the guitar I kind of cut my teeth on.
Yeah.
But they were very encouraging.
Yeah.
They really were. And, Dad was the bass player in the band, and we ate his lunch all day long. We thought, you're not playing it right, and he was doing the best he could. He drove the car. Just, shut up, guys. And, now I think about it now, just be nice to him. He's driving the bus, and paying for everything,
I think probably then having that kind of support from your family and then be willing to push you guys to do this was
it helped a lot.
Key.
I don't think they said be a star because I was going to go to college. I was a graphic art major and trying to have a backup. So I go to Nashville. I had something that I could fall back on and then so I think they knew that I wasn't going to just sit on the street corner and open the case and bang my guitar and say, please.
Well, you're a blessed man. You've had lots of success.
I'm telling you, they've been so awesome.
Wonderful resume, and I'm so glad
thanks.
you're taking a step outside of it and promoting yourself and
it's fun.
Your songs.
I don't normally get to do my own music, and I love making another artist. Like if he's playing, I'm playing with Ricky Chinraya. I love it. I'm really good at being a sideman. I'm great at making somebody up front look good, and I love it. It's
I'm
fun.
sure that's your comfort zone, but
Yeah, oh, yeah.
you also need to step outside of that.
It's like Craig Langford said, the light in the center is really hot, and it's not so hot on the outside, but it's really fun out here. You know, and in the middle, it's a hot seat to be in, isn't it? Yeah, you're in charge of the night, and hopefully you don't say anything politically incorrect during the show and keep it straight. But
oh well, they'll get over it, right? Well, it's been great having you here, and I look forward to you coming back next January.
Well, I appreciate it.
Do a show for us. And,
you guys have been awesome.
We need to share you with all the people that come to our shows, because we've got a pretty good core of people that come, and I know they'll love you.
Thanks so much.
You bet. Everybody, you keep tuning in, and thank you for being with us this evening. You are in the music room.